We've put together a brief agenda for today, just so you can see what we're going to go through. Obviously, we're a little bit off time-wise.
So, yes, the mission statement we've done, basically this will kind of explain where we're coming from with the rest of the creative. I think we looked at the mission statement you had in your background document. We wanted to make sure that, one of the things we noticed when we met you, yes, was it Friday?
Yeah.
Friday. That just got so quick. Was that you're very keen to make sure that the people who came to you understood what you did as an organisation. So we thought we could write you a little sentence that kind of explained what the Fitzrovia Neighbourhood Association did, and maybe you could put that on your website or put that in your leaflet. So it's not so much for explaining what you do to charitable trusts or other organisations, but for that people who actually live here.
Right.
So what we came up with was that Fitzrovia Neighbourhood Association, we stand up for Fitzrovia and we work to make it a better home for all the people who live and work here. It's our little part of London, we're Fitzrovian and proud. So that kind of explains where we're coming from when you see the rest of the work.
Cool. I mean, the bit that we had sort of quite liked and sort of with communications is the final bit, is the we're Fitzrovian and proud. And we sort of all kind of latched onto this because when we were having our discussions yesterday, one of the things we felt was that Fitzrovia, it's hard to define. We work here, and unless you've got the map to actually define it, it was the first time that we'll put our hands up, we really knew where the boundaries of Fitzrovia were. And then to speak to sort of some people as well, even if you work here, even if you live here, you're not quite sure where Fitzrovia is. But there's also an identity of what it is. There's a presumption that it's just lots of rich people and officers here, and we've learned over the last sort of 48 hours that's completely different. That's not the case.
Community is a very difficult concept because you can have community. It's a word that's bandied about a lot as well. So, I mean, I would say that people coming to work here are a community, okay, and they become part of the neighbourhood, but they're only sort of part-time in the neighbourhood. So. There's still a community of workers, okay, and they're welcomed by what we call the permanent communities.
So yeah, we were then thinking as well about the newspaper and sort of with the brief in mind about how you present yourself to local businesses and things like that. One thing we thought potentially was, because of this Fitzrovian and proud line, would the newspaper work if it was called the Fitzrovian? Or does that terrify you?
We spend quite a lot of time making the name Fitzrovia News. So that I would have thought that's quite controversial because it is supposed to be a newspaper. Although I can see where you're coming from. From the Fitzrovian, like the Guardian,
Scots,
or whatever, or whatever. Difficult.
Yeah, I mean, what we were also thinking about with regard to sort of your social media stuff as well, you've got, as well as the blog, the website, you've got kind of 4 different properties. Now, I understand that there's a different reason for the news and the Neighbourhood Association, but we were wondering potentially, because it's quite tricky, isn't it, for you to manage 4 separate sort of social media accounts. Would it make sense?
Well, we've actually got more than that. Well, we've got Young got Google Plus. There's also, we just sort of hooked the name really.
Well, we were just wondering how you would potentially feel about bringing those together. So under the Fitzrovian, so one Facebook, one Twitter, one Google Plus for the Fitzrovian, which would allow you to push all this information out, so you can have messages tailored to what the charity wants to put across, but also the news agenda as well.
There is a reason for that.
Okay.
I mean, the Neighbourhood Association account and all the social media, so it's fitzrovia.org.uk, is the whole of the organisation. It's a sort of serious medium of the organisation. So it contains a number of sort of statutory things, the company numbers and stuff like that.
Just quickly, wanted to just go through, we had a look through the newspaper as well, and just thought, was there anything that we sort of just trust and RO over it, that we could do to actually sort of build awareness as well. So I think we've already talked about sort of more photos.
So going off the Fitzrovia Proud, the whole idea of giving something to a piece, something for them to care about, this is kind of a very strong point. And something that could also tie your Twitter accounts together, which is this thought of using a hashtag to promote kind of their happiness and thanks to the area. So we were thinking, thank you Fitzrovia. Fitzrovia. As a kind of jumping block to go off and actually let businesses know that what you do is actually of use and there's people still living here. So we were thinking these can be contextual, the set of posters that we do. So say for example this one, which is thank you Fitzrovia. If you hadn't stopped them from extending the hospital, I wouldn't be living here now. And then you can see more of the story, which you've got the stories online. You've actually got them hidden, and it would be nice to bring them to the kind of front and expose them a bit more. And then tying it off with our line, Fitzrovia and Proud. And again, these just kind of, it gives a personal touch to the area, and then I think the thank you note is very personal, and it kind of gives this one-on-one relationship you have with all the kind of people that come and see. So we cover off ones about residency, we cover off ones about history, so thank you Fitzrovia. Can't believe that I'm drinking in the same pub as the legend Bob Dylan, ecstatic, Jill, so kind of just putting names to people. So that's a history one. So again, like you were talking, it could be as simple as you reading through people's rights to them, so they know they're in with the boundaries legally and what they have to do. So again, a note from Ben. If it wasn't you, I wouldn't know I was within my rights to demand my rent stayed the same. And this was a small business one, so showing how kind of this can be used generically. Had an amazing coffee today at Caffeine. The service was delightful. So you know we can work into these and make them more descriptive and emotive. But at the moment, this kind of approach seems to be working and covering off all the separate areas that you have and tying in all your kind of separate accounts. So that was the campaign that we were hoping to do, and that would be poster primarily, fly poster.
Can I ask you about? I'm a bit mystified with Facebook. How do you bind stuff? Because there's no equivalent to hashtags. It's
no, it'd be more so your two Twitter accounts that we join. But you could promote that hashtag through your Facebook. So you'd have on there you'd promote it on there, and we'd also have shops, small businesses promoting that for the area too, as a kind of for Caffeine we'd have a little stick on the window, the hashtag. And little things that they can help to drum up a bit of kind of traffic for your to your accounts. Because I think when we were coming up with this, we had to bear in mind that not only it had to be feasible, but this had to speak to people that weren't going to be using Twitter, and therefore these can feature, because obviously these are going to be posters, but they'll feature in the newspaper, and everyone can get something from this, rather than just the people that are on Twitter. And then we were thinking, in terms of enabling you for your festival, because that's going to be next week, we thought it'd be great if we could do a few things to kind of get the ball rolling.
I need to get my act together on that.
I'd consider it as like how you used to do the street parties. I know obviously times have changed stuff, but again, let's say September, to see this as a complete fresh start and like bang, let's get back in there, get the whole community together. Like Caffeine provides the coffee or something. Because the businesses, it's good for them as well, because they're going to get exposure. But then at the same time, the important message is there of what you do. But again, it's changing people's perceptions about you and what you do. You actually help quite a lot of people.
Yeah, it's given us a lot of stuff to think about for the rest of the day to work on. And we'll have to find a presentation later.
Okay.
So we just had Linus in for a work in progress creative meeting with him, just to show him where we are after the first day, check his thoughts on the progress we've made, and kind of assess if there are any watch out areas or any things he's slightly uncomfortable, so we know how to develop for the rest of the day. His feedback was that he absolutely loved the positioning, the mission statement, and he thought that was a great way of summarising what they do, which is great because that also ends in what our creative thought was by the end of yesterday, which is Fitzrovian and proud. So led very nicely into the creative work, and Lina seemed very happy with them, really liked the work. It's slightly different to how a creative presentation normally would be in terms of a work in progress meeting, because normally we'd have quite a few routes to present and then decide which ones we were going to take forward. Whereas obviously in this case with the limited time, we've just got the one, but luckily he's really happy with it, so we'll continue to develop that further today. As well as we'll be developing a lot of the brand identity work, which we didn't present in this meeting, but we'll present at the end of the day.